The year is 1991. We have just seen a rough cut. That is the movie that you all know as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze. My favorite of all the turtle films. But you know what? We're going to fix it. Cue the intro.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mirror Movie Universe podcast. I'm Nate. I'm the host of the show. Well, one half of the hosts of this show. Half of the shindig belongs to me, and the other half belongs to the man across the aisle and across the country from me. That would be my oldest brother, Dan. Say hello, Dan.
Hello, everybody. I'm also your only brother. You said
Oh, yeah.
oldest.
Yeah. I meant to say older. I
Well,
just kind of slipped
I'll
it.
take it.
Yeah. But in any case, like Dan said in the intro, we're talking about TMNT 2, Secret of the Ooze from 1991, and what we like, dislike, and what we'd fix about it. So before we do that, we're going to have to go through what happens in TMNT 2, Secret of the Ooze. So the film starts on the heels of the last one. The Foot Clan is kind of rebuilding, and the turtles are kind of angsty to stop more crime in the city, and angsty to get out and reveal themselves because they are heroes. They save the city and all of this kind of stuff. But Splinter is cautioning them, oh, no. You still have to follow the way of ninja and be in the shadows and all of this. We get this through a couple of scenes at the start where a pizza delivery boy named Kino, who's actually played by one of the stunt guys that did Donatello in the first film, is attacked by some thieves at a shopping mall, and the turtles save him. They come back to April's apartment, and Splinter gives them this lecture. Meanwhile, April is investigating this weird, strange company called TCRI or TGRI. It depends on which Turtles franchise you're doing the letter switches, but she's investigating this weird company and strange mutagenic changes that have been happening around, like flowers are getting really big and stuff, and it's kind of a strange thing. And the lead scientist of this company is named Dr. Perry, and he's running some of these experiments, and he's talking to April and shrugging her off. And some of the Foot Ninjas kidnap Dr. Perry and use him to and his mutagen expertise to create some things for the Foot Clan. Meanwhile, Splinter reveals that TCRI or TGRI is the initials that are on the canister of ooze that formed the turtles into adult Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, just from their initial baby form. So we have kind of an origin story beset in this film, which is weird because we learned about their origin in excruciating detail in the first film. They meet Kino again, who discovers their true, nature at April's apartment, and Raph goes on a fact-finding mission with Kino to enter the Foot Clan and kind of gather some intelligence because they're trying to regroup. Meanwhile, turns out that Shredder survived somehow being crushed by 10,000 pounds of hydraulic pressure in the back of a garbage truck, and he's retaken over the Foot Clan with a spiky new helmet and like a face scar. It's not, he got crushed in a garbage truck. Give the guy a break. Anyway, Raph soon discovers that Shredder is back and alive, and there is a new pair of villains that have been mutagenically evolved by Dr. Perry under his hostage situation with the Foot. They're called Toka and Razor, and they're a snapping turtle and a wolf. And if you grew up in the 1990s, you are very disappointed, as we were, that these were not Bebop and Rocksteady. Yeah. Which are the pair of bumbling idiots, big mutagenic guys in the original cartoon. There's a sort of ultimatum given by Shredder after the turtles fight him and get Raph back, that I'll unleash them on Central Park if you don't I guess have a showdown with me. And they do in this abandoned warehouse location. Dr. Perry, now hanging out with the turtles, is given them some ways to defeat Toka and Razor with giving them donuts laced with drugs. I don't remember. And they have a fight because the donuts don't work, and they crash through the wall into a Vanilla Ice concert, and everyone sees them, and Vanilla Ice starts singing "Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go," and they defeat the the Foot Ninjas and Toka and Razor with the power of music and dance, I guess. And Shredder shows up on stage. Kino, the kid who's been kind of a through line in this film, it also shows up at the last second and like kicks a canister of ooze away from Shredder. So yeah, it came full circle. And they blast Shredder off of the stage with like a keyboard thing, and a dock falls on top of him. And they go home to Master Splinter, and he's like, "Were you seen?" And they're like, "No, we were totally invisible." And then he holds up a newspaper with, the phenomenon of ninja go, ninja go, ninja go. And
10 flips now.
And then we freeze frame on them halfway through a flip. Yeah. And that's Secret of the Ooze. I know that I just said quite a lot, but that's drawn out the plot, because the plot's kind of, it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. It's just, there's a lot of fun moments in this movie that I love. Yeah. But usually I go second. So Dan, what do you like about Secret of the Ooze?
This is my
favorite. Your favorite.
This is my favorite. I love it. I love it because it's super, super fun. This is the first one I saw. It's a lot closer to the kind of zany antics of the cartoon.
Yeah.
Interestingly, there were two main criticisms leveled at the first movie, and I feel like this time they went out of their way to address them. So one of those is that this is it's too violent. They can't use their weapons. So you get a lot more kind of slapstick flipping and ninja fighting. They don't use their weapons. Michelangelo uses like sausages
in the first. Yeah.
And like a yo-yo, which by the way, like every kid has a yo-yo that they're going to spin around their head. No kid has nunchucks, but whatever. And like weirdly in the UK, they still like cut that scene out because he can't use sausages like nunchucks. Like they were really cracking out. Anyway, so it's a lot more fun. It's a lighthearted because of that. And the other main criticism from the first film was that it was racist towards Asians. I don't think that holds any weight. But I mean, like if you see it, you're like, no, it's not. But if some dude is talking about it on TV and he's like, oh, they're fighting, these turtles are fighting against Asian people, it's like, ooh. So I think that's one of the reasons that they cast Kino. I don't know for sure, but I think that maybe they went out of their way to be like, okay, we're gonna have a protagonist who's Asian. In any case, I like both of the changes, and I like the original film. Like I think Kino's a fun character. I think he's great. I think that the slapstick stuff is fun as a kid. Like it's super fun. It's so cool to see them do this stuff. Like every time I'm watching this movie, I'm just waiting to get to Vanilla Ice. It's so 90s. It's so silly.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Oh, it's so
I used to have Go Ninja Go on a CD.
Yeah.
CD. Yeah.
Me too. It's just silly and fun. And I think that like that's fine. It's for kids. It's fun. It's nostalgic. As fun as it is, though, I really want to throw this out there. Like there is something really cool about when they find out the secret of the ooze. And it's a kind of a dark and somber moment in it when they realize that it was just an accident. Like there was no great plan. There was no grand design to them being created or born or whatever. It was just a happenstance that they came to be. And all of them kind of grapple with it in that moment. They're like, what does that mean? Right.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons why the turtles themselves really resonate with kids is because they're outsiders, they're outcasts, they have to stay hidden, they're not accepted for who they are, even though they're good guys, and they can't like put on a mask and look like a human. They are outcasts. I think every kid has felt that way at some point. Every kid has felt different or marginalized or whatever, not included, and they kind of ratchet that up a notch by saying like they don't have a grand purpose. Like there is no reason behind them, and they have to deal with that. And so I really like that they do that. I think that that's really endearing and heartwarming. And I hope that helps even more people who are feeling lost and stuff connect to it. I don't know if the original creators, Eastman and Laird, did that on purpose, or if that's just kind of a happenstance of creating some zany characters. But in any
Yeah.
case, I really love that they do it. All right, that's me. That's everything I love about it.
No, I'm with you 100%. And the last one is something I didn't even think about. I echo a lot of other things that you've said, but the other, I didn't expect to bring this up at all, but the other property that you and I got into and our family got into when we were kids growing up in the 90s was X-Men.
X-Men,
Um,
yeah.
and the X-Men cartoon that was on in the 90s and the follow-up one from the early 2000s, X-Men Evolution. More than Spider-Man, more than anything else, it was about being weird and different and how that's okay. And I guess, yeah, I didn't even think about it. This movie is just like the silly one to me, but like they do have that moment where they, they realize that there's not some grand scheme and it just happened. That's kind of wild. I didn't think about that at all. But I think that, 8, 9-year-old Nate probably got something from that. And I feel really good about that. Still not my favorite movie though. Still not my favorite in the trilogy, but that makes it a lot more poignant.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that I made you think about it differently. And at the very least, like it's a nice message to corporations, like don't dump toxic stuff everywhere. I mean, I had like a whole nother, I'm a vegan, and
yeah,
there's that old joke. How can you know if somebody's vegan? Don't worry, they'll tell you. Like,
yeah.
I have a whole another thing I can go down about dumping stuff where we don't want to dump it. Now it's killing the Gulf and our oceans and everything else. But
oh yeah,
keep it more lighthearted. So.
I on the lighthearted bit about the Secret of the Ooze, the original Eastman and Laird comics that have the canister, go into the sewer. It hits like a little boy first, and they're directly referencing Daredevil, who heavily influences the comics. And because Daredevil, like a canister of the thing falls off a truck and hits him in the face, and so he goes blind. And then it goes down the sewer. And so they kind of self-inserted themselves into this. So I guess you can take the positive vegan message out of Daredevil as well. But I love that little crossover. Yeah. But
what else do you love about it?
So I love that it's a lot of fun and it's the perfect introduction to the Turtles in an opening scene. Like the last film, they're all in shadow, but this it's very well lit and you're just having fun. And like I said in the episode we did on the first film, this one, Secret of the Ooze, was the first one I saw. I wasn't allowed to see it until I was like 8, because our mom thought it was pretty violent. And I remember having the VHS that you had, coming, up 7-8 years ahead of me.
Yeah.
And just looking at it and studying every detail of that back jacket cover and being like, oh man, this is grown up Turtles. Like this is more important. And then, going into it, I was kind of nervous. And then that first opening scene, they're just being silly. And I was like, oh, I get it. Cool. This is yeah, it's just live action.
It's just Turtles live action. Yeah.
Yeah. The opening of the film, even beyond that, is really fun because there's like a 5-minute montage of people just eating pizza and enjoying it on the streets of New York. And it feels like it's very pro New York in a way that the last movie really wasn't, and a way that the Turtles always have been. They're a New York staple as much as Spider-Man. That's part of what I love about them. They didn't make up a fake city like Gotham, or Metropolis. Like they are from New York City, and here's all the ways in which they're from New York City. And the pizza isn't just a quirky, oh, we eat pizza thing there. It's like, this ties us to the working man. And I really like that. Ninja Rap is a time capsule. That's the last thing I love about this film. It's a time capsule to just more lovely times. Some people in our audience might remember this. I certainly do. And I think Dan does. Before iPods and MP3 players and since Spotify really took over, mix CDs were a huge deal. If you didn't have a computer that could burn a CD, what you did is you went to Walmart's website on an old dial-up, modem, and you could pick out popular songs to put on a mix CD, and then Walmart would press this thing and you could pick it up. And I remember making my first mix CD, which was a whole bunch of, it was like Jimi Hendrix and Cat Stevens and a whole, like, just like everything I liked as a kid. But the first song on that mix CD was Go Ninja Go Ninja Go.
It's a
And
great song.
yeah, I will not be lyricking it, but I could probably sing it if prompted to do so, like the entire thing. I love it a lot. I think it's silly and I think it's fun. And I don't care that it makes not a damn lick of sense, but I rather enjoy it. But that's just me. That's just what I like about this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very 90s. Like everything
Oh yeah.
from the score, like
Mm.
when they're doing that New York montage is like like very 90s, and then Vanilla Ice is there. It's great though. It's so
Yeah.
great. I love
Vanilla
it.
Ice probably took like half of the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, as much as I love, that particular performance of Vanilla Ice and the film, I don't love everything about it. It's
Yeah.
not my favorite. Dan, this is going to be hard for you, I bet, because it is your favorite. What would you fix about, basically, I think the best movie that you ever saw as a child? I mean,
Yes.
how are you going to make it better?
So this was actually super easy for me
Hmm.
because the ending of the film, the final showdown with Shredder, makes
Mm.
zero sense. He's
Yeah.
taking the super serum. He's
Hmm.
stronger than ever.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's nice that they kind of plead with him, like, Shredder, don't do this. You're going to tear this
Hmm.
place apart. But they don't defeat him. He defeats himself. He's like
Hmm.
roided out and he just like smashes the dock and crushes himself.
Yep.
So my fix is go back and add in some scenes there. Like, okay, you don't
Hmm.
want them to fight with weapons. Fine, they won't fight with weapons.
Hmm.
And then the turtles need to like be doing jumps around the dock and
Hmm.
have Shredder be swinging and missing them, smashing pylons.
Hmm.
And then another one's over here and he smashes a pylon, and another one's over here. And like, and ratchet up the tension there.
Hmm.
The whole thing takes like, it seems very short
Yeah.
to resolve, and it builds to that moment. This is the return of the Shredder. This is
Hmm.
everything that he's got. The Ooze, he's stronger than ever. He
Yeah.
survived being crushed by a dump truck, and
Hmm.
then he just like
And then some
destroys
wood gets
himself.
him.
It's
Yeah.
a very Deus Ex Machina ending.
Yeah.
um I always thought it was weird that it was rushed. Like I remember
Yeah.
watching this as a kid and thinking that like the halfway point was when they fought Toka and Razor, and
Yeah.
then I was like, oh, there's so much left, and it's just over
Vanilla
so
Ice concert
fast.
done. Yeah.
Yeah, it
It feels
really
rushed.
is. So I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
I agree with you. It'll be tough to do that practically.
Mm.
Maybe like, how do we defeat the Shredder? Oh, like, we had to use CO2. There's a whole thing like they have to like spray Token Razor with fire extinguishers. Where are we going to get enough CO2 to bring them down? And then there's like a gas truck or something outside, and
Yeah,
yeah. Then they fight outside, and Vanilla Ice is still pumping in the background, but they're like, they have to do something to beat him, because as it stands, like you're right, he just kind of defeats himself and some wood takes him out, and it don't play very nice. I'm sure it appeased many of the parents who had problems with the darkness of the first film, but
but it also makes the
yeah.
turtles not really, it makes them not very heroic in their final heroic moment. Like I
Yeah.
said, it's nice that they try to appeal to his better nature. That's fine. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have a problem with it, but
Yeah.
they need to do something more than just be like, oh no, we're gonna get crushed by the dock. Ah,
Yeah.
they
And
need
then
to,
they just kind of bob up in the water after that.
yeah. Oh, and they're like, I
Yeah.
love being a turtle, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's cool, but they need to do
Yeah.
something more.
See, what worked about defeating Shredder in the first movie is he also defeats himself, because Splinter's got him like,
Yes.
hanging off the edge of the building. And he like pulls out a dagger and tries to stab Splinter, or throws it at him or something, and that causes Splinter to let him go off the building.
Yeah.
And so he still dies in the first movie because of something he did,
Right.
but he was hanging off the side of the building to start with.
Splinter beat
Like
him.
the
Like,
situation's different.
yeah, and
Yeah.
Splinter was the one who beat him, not the four turtles.
Yeah.
But like that's the other thing that I don't like about this is like in the first movie
Mm-hmm.
he's so strong.
Yeah.
They are struggling to fight him. This one
Mm-hmm.
they take him on without Splinter.
Yeah.
He's stronger than ever, and they don't do
Done.
anything.
Yep. It's
So
not great.
yeah.
It's not great. And that's
All right.
part of the reason why I don't like this movie, but it's not what I would fix about it.
So I'm curious, Nate, what would you fix about this movie?
My first thought was that I'd bring Casey back in some way, because Casey Jones is he's just the best character in the
He's
first movie.
great.
He's just great. And like you could just shoot an insert of him, like get the actor back for a 30-second take, just shoot an insert of him like jamming in the crowd being like, oh, the turtles, yeah, and then he just goes back to dancing. That would be great, but I think that's kind of cheap. What I would really fix
That'd be super
is
awesome.
it would be great, but I don't know if it would make the movie better. And what
Yeah.
would make the movie better is actually have there being the secret of the ooze. The secret of the ooze is that the letters are on the canister, and that they got squirted with it and stuff, and that they kind of mostly explain that in the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
It would be awesome. Okay, in the comics and in the show from the 2000s that I grew up watching, there are aliens called Utroms, which look like Krang if you watch the original cartoon. It's like a big brain looking thing, and it sits in your stomach, and you're a robot. So they look like normal people, but they're actually like these brain aliens in the stomachs of these robots. And I hear tell that the original plan for Dr. Perry was to make him an Utrom and to have a reveal towards the end of the movie where he like opens up his shirt and he's an alien dude in there. Kind of like the little alien guy in Men in Black who's inside the other guy. And I think they took it out not because of budget or anything, but because kids who watch the cartoon would confuse it with Krang, and they're similar, concepts. But I grew up with this whole lore around this alien species because in the 2000 show, Shredder is one of those aliens. He's actually been an alien little brain thing inside of a robot body the entire time. But I would be super into that. It would give the alien, it would give the ooze an alien, origin story. And it kind of, was what I wanted out of this movie, was more intrigue. However, your earlier like about this movie really, really takes that down a notch, because the fact that there's no purpose for the ooze at all is a lot more poignant than I originally thought. And so my whole fix around this movie
it's ruined.
It's just ruined because it removes the poignancy of that scene, which I was just, as a kid, I was like, what? There's no scene. Oh, fine then. I didn't actually, process that and think, okay, we're learning something about what it's like to be different. So we'll go back to the Casey in the crowd thing. That'll be my fix. All right.
No,
I had a whole thing written out for how it was going to be, this Utrom alien thing. We'll do the Casey in the crowd thing.
No, stick with the alien thing. Here's what I think. I think it doesn't take away from feeling like an outcast. It doesn't take away from that, because it's not like it's not like they were experimented on. It's not like somebody was like, oh, what would be great is if we did this. Oh, it'd be great is if we did we're going to mutate a ton of animals and we're going to get an army or anything. You know what I mean?
That's just the plot of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. That didn't work out very well, did it? So
right. So you can do it where it comes from somewhere else. Like, it doesn't matter to me if a scientist made it in a lab and dumped it, or if it was an alien thing. And it somehow wound up. It doesn't change that the turtles themselves were created by accident, right? You still get that moment from them. You can still have it where the secret is revealed, right? And they're like, "Wait a minute, you mean it was alien ooze? But what does that have to do with us?" And they're like, "Well, nothing." Like, Perry can be like, "I'm sorry, we didn't. I mean, it was a total accident." And they can still have that moment where they're like, "Oh crap." Right. So I think there's a best of both worlds there, where you get to have a little more intrigue, which is nice because Shredder's a little overdone at this point. It'd be nice to put a little something else in this movie, but you still get the turtles to be like, oh, we're just accidents,
Yeah. Okay. Okay, fine. We won't do the Casey in the crowd thing, but that's still in my back pocket.
In the crowd thing. I think that he should just be in every. I just want to see him fist pumping. Hey, and then he goes back to fist pumping.
Because he's sorted out his anger issues with the power of Vanilla Ice music. But that's what I think. What do you think, audience? What would you put Casey in the crowd, or would you have an alien thing, or would you do Dan's fix instead? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah,
Tell us in the comments down in the doobly-doo thing.
Yeah, and tell us, like, am I reading too much into this whole Secret of the Ooze thing? Is this really just like, who cares? Or do you feel too like the turtles represent the marginalized and the kids out there who don't feel like they fit in? I don't know. Let us know.
And would you have liked the movie much better as a kid if they actually fought Shredder at the end? I think the answer is yes for us. But yeah, let us know, and like, comment, and subscribe, and all that bull crap like usual. Yeah. All right. Well, after that awkward silence, we're going to end the episode.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time
time
for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3.